Go. Lieutenant Lewis Allen was serving in Iraq back in 2005. And while he was serving there, he and his commanding officer, Captain Philip Esposito, were murdered by a fellow soldier. The government has investigated this. They have looked into this. The person who they accused as their lead suspect has been acquitted in all of this. But clearly there was a murder that happened. Lieutenant Lewis Allen's wife is pushing for the case to be re-examined. She's writing a book about it. She also is pushing to get a Purple Heart for her husband, because regardless of how he might have died, he was serving this country when he was in Iraq. They have 4 young boys, beautiful children. Thank you very much. Is this David's? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. David Webb, who was just joining us moments ago, has left behind his Purple Heart that his father earned in the military. And that just, tell him thank you. Gosh, this just brings tears to my eyes. Welcome now, if you would, Barbara Allen. She's here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And, you know, I want to show this to everybody. I don't know if you can take a close-up of that. But do you want to grab it? Oh, my gosh. Okay, you want it right here? Got it. This is a Purple Heart that was granted to, or given to, by the government, by the U.S. military, to David Webb's father for his service. And he was, and of course David has left us, he's out there, but he wanted to have this here. This is what we're talking about this morning. It has a great deal of meaning to military families who sacrifice in times of war or just times of service, whether they're injured, they serve valiantly, whether they perish in that service, whatever the matter is. Purple Hearts are awarded all the time, as are Medals of Honor. This is clearly a man who was serving his country. Barbara, now I've kind of told a little bit of your story, and you're on Twitter now, which is wonderful. People, I tweeted about it this morning.
I saw.
Duty, Honor, Murder. So it's twitter.com/Duty, Honor, Murder. This is your husband. Tell me a little bit of the story from the beginning.
My husband trained up in May 2005 and deployed over in June 2005 to join the 42nd Rainbow Division headquarters company over there to help clear up a situation in supply that his good friend and commanding officer was having. 3 days after arriving on base, he was killed in an explosion. June 8th, 2005, my doorbell rang, and the military notification detail told me my husband was dead, that he had been killed in a mortar attack. And the following night, that was changed to a criminal investigation. So what I immediately had to deal with was my husband being dead suddenly. There was a lot of confusion in the beginning, but we did find out that somebody had been arrested and charged with the murders. We went through a 3.5-year court-martial process, absolutely horrific process to go through, only to sit there on December 4th, 2008, and watch the man I believe murdered my husband walk out of the courtroom a free man. In the time between now and then, I had previously requested the Purple Heart for my husband and been denied. I could only handle so much at one time, so I had to table that. The government has steadfastly refused to award my husband the Purple Heart based on the argument that he was not killed by an enemy. And I don't believe that argument really has any merit either way.
If someone kills you, they're probably an enemy.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that's kind of why they do.
They kill you.
Yeah.
Yes. They're not classified as your friend. I believe the government has not rectified the death certificate with the verdict.
I see.
Either way, I believe Alberto Martinez killed my husband and got away with it.
And he's the man who was accused of this. And 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
A military trial. I mean, now let's start from the beginning. You and your husband lived where?
In Milford, Pennsylvania at the time.
Milford, Pennsylvania, just south of our studios here in New York. And he was deployed from there. He goes to Iraq. 72 hours later, he's dead. You deal immediately, though, with that sudden death. You have who in your family that you have to take care of suddenly? 4
children. My oldest was 6. 6, 5, 3, and 1. I do have a little picture of them here.
You've got a couple of pictures.
I have some pretty rough pictures coming up, but yeah. This is...
Can we take a shot of this? Because I know we don't have any of this stuff digital. We don't have this digital ready to go, but we can see this. We can see this. Now tell me who's in this picture.
That's my husband with Trevor, Colin, Sean, and Jeremy in his lap. That was about 6 months before he died.
Wow. And how old are your children?
Now they're 10, 9, 8, and almost 6.
Wow. So you've
Old
got,
men.
You've got all that, 6 years old men. You've got all that responsibility all on your shoulders now, and in the meantime, you've tried to get through the court. You had a lot of support
I did.
through that.
Incredible support.
I see you wearing purple today. Purple Heart means a lot to you.
It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my children. My husband obviously is not here to be a part of my children's lives, except in stories and some very vague memories of my oldest children. And I mean, I'd had conversations with my husband about one of us dying young, how terrible it would be to die young and have our kids grow up not knowing him. We spoke about that, and my husband had a couple of hours to think about that as he was dying. He can't be here, and I know that bothers him, obviously. It bothers my children. Yeah. All he's got left is his legacy and our stories, and he lost his life in service to our country. He lost his future. My children lost their childhoods. Again, he shouldn't lose his legacy. My children should not lose my husband's legacy. There should not be this taint associated with my husband's name. He's no more deserving than any other soldier who was killed over there, but he's certainly no less deserving. And for our government to deny him this honor because it's an unpleasant situation to deal with, they don't want to acknowledge.
And you feel that's the reason?
I do feel that's the reason. He wasn't killed by the enemy. Yes, he was. What greater enemy do we have than a soldier in our ranks killing our own men? And again, that argument stands with a guilty verdict. The not guilty verdict invalidates that argument.
Right.
Again, you cannot have it both ways. The verdict says he wasn't killed.
Almost that nobody has really looked at this case.
No, the judge on our case is the United States Army's chief trial judge. He made some seriously questionable rulings. I have stronger words, but I won't use them.
No, but I hear you sort of couching it too, because you have more road to cover here.
I do have a long way to go. This Purple Heart is extremely important.
What are you carrying? And sweetie, don't shake. It's okay.
I'm just
friends. It's all right. It's okay. I'm with you here.
Every fiber
what is
in this. This is a training claymore mine.
Oh my gosh! You brought a mine into our studio. Don't tell Straka. You guys, don't tell Mike Straka. He'll come in here. I'm in trouble.
It's harmless.
Okay, good. It's not.
It makes me a little sick. This is a replica of the weapon that killed my husband.
Oh, wow.
On it, it says front towards enemy. The individual who killed my husband.
It says enemy right on the thing that killed him.
Declared himself an enemy.
Now,
cannot
did they
have a...
this is an M33 Apers mine.
Claymore mine.
Yeah. And this is a replica of what killed her husband. And on the very front, you see front toward enemy. He's saying enemy in his own words there. Yet they say because he wasn't killed by an enemy, he can't get a Purple Heart.
Right.
Now, the thing is, he's been acquitted. So if he weren't killed, murdered by...
So who did it?
So who did it? And in that case, doesn't he automatically get a Purple Heart if he died in the service of... I'm just asking.
I agree. You cannot tell me the person in the military told me killed my husband is not guilty, and then presume that he still doesn't earn the Purple Heart under the standing Purple Heart requirements. You have to rectify this.
You mentioned the judge, the military judge in all of this, but how far have you gone with like your local... I know I'm probably asking the most basic questions, but they're questions that we are all thinking right now. Well, who's this woman talk to? Why can't everybody see what we see?
Talk to everybody from Congressman up to Admiral Mullen. I'm nearly done with a book about all of this where it details all of that. And everybody I've spoken to, by far and large, the most helpful, supportive individual has been Congressman Hall in this. But everybody else pretty much runs from it, does not want to be associated with this publicly.
I want to share some emails if you'll let me do that. Barbara Allen joining us now. Lieutenant Lewis Allen was killed on the line of duty, and the military investigated it as a murder. She's trying desperately to get a Purple Heart for her husband. Bill in New York City writes, Harris, a bombing is a terror attack method. This from the Veterans Affairs. He has downloaded and sent me a portion. This is very interesting. Executive Order 12464, signed by President Ronald Reagan in February 1984, authorized an award of the Purple Heart as a result of terrorist attacks or while serving as part of a peacekeeping force subsequent to March 28, 1973. The 1998 National Defense Authorization Act removed civilians from the list of personnel eligible for the medal. So he was not a civilian, though, right? So according to this, he ought to get a Purple Heart. Bill, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, let me tell you, our viewers are very resourceful.
That's
And
great.
Your Twitter
I
page,
haven't
let's
heard
put that
that.
back up. You'll find that many of them have served in the military. I have a great heart for military families, and I tend to attract that because I put it out there. You attract what you put out. And they're a wonderful resource. They're very loving and very supportive. And your husband deserves a Purple Heart. And if Ronald Reagan's act can help, thank you very, very much, Bill, for sending that in. Gosh, there's so many here. I do want a Purple Heart. Considering that my dad told me about an officer who got a Purple Heart when he fell off a deuce and a half during World War II, this man certainly deserves a Purple Heart. Tom in Colorado. I think that you will find people will support you as you have, but what you need is for somebody to get their attention. So Congressman Hall
has stood by publicly and helped. Well, he has made requests on our behalf, and he's also been denied. But
now, is he formerly military or what? I mean, you need somebody in the military, girl.
I do need. You know, my most recent refusal. These are some pretty graphic pictures.
Okay, let me look through before we show these.
My most recent refusal came directly from Stephanie Panting. She is the inquiry team leader of the Military Awards Branch, and she has, again, denied. I asked her for a meeting to convince her.
Oh, wow.
Those are not too...
yeah, we won't be able to show all of these. These are some very graphic scenes of right after the explosion.
Because you know what? I need people... This is not a game. This is not a joke. It's more than pushing paper, pushing pencil and policy, and somebody's career face.
Yeah,
this is real.
Let me see what we can show here. Let's show this one because we've seen a number of scenes. So
that's
this,
the worst one.
No. This I think is this one's pretty bad. Yeah. So we're not going to show all of these, but now tell me what I'm looking at before I put this picture up.
Okay, that to me is one of the worst pictures. That is after the explosion, after Phil and Lou were removed. That is where my husband landed against the wall, and that is his blood.
All right, so this is a bloody picture. We have seen pictures of wartime before, so, I mean, we're mature. We know what we're looking at here.
This is real stuff. This is not a game. This is not about
you
being
just wanting to
on TV.
Get a Purple Heart for your husband.
My husband spilled his blood.
He spilled his blood in service of this country. I mean, when you go abroad and you're serving the United States of America, that's it.
He's no less worthy than anybody else who was killed over there.
So, Barbara, you're writing a book. What is the title of your book?
It's Duty, Honor, Murder.
Duty, Honor, Murder, and that's a takeoff of...
A takeoff on Duty, Honor, Country, the motto.
Yeah, the mantra.
Hear.
Right. I'm going to give these back to you.
Yeah,
thank you. Those are difficult pictures to look at. And everybody, I did not share the worst of those pictures. When people are killed in a very bloody fashion, the pictures can be very hard to look at. We see violence in our society every day, so I don't think that shocks people. But the fact that he was over there doing... And what were they doing over there? What was the mission that Esposito said his commanding officer so desperately needed your husband's expertise for?
Alberto Martinez had made a disaster of supply. There was equipment missing, tens of thousands of dollars of equipment missing.
And what was your husband's expertise?
My husband was going over there. He was originally a tank commander, but he was tasked with going over there. He and Phil had worked together in the past, and he was tasked with going over there and cleaning up supply. And
and figuring out maybe where some of the missing
what
parts
had happened
were,
and looking into Martinez's
And this unit,
action.
the 42nd, served how many people were over there together with them? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to say somewhere around 30,000. That is
okay. So that was a big job that he was brought over to do.
Well, in the entire
thing.
But on that fob, I don't know how many people were on that fob out of the 42nd. But it was a big job, and Lou did talk to me when he got there and said what a mess it was. And
okay, so how can people help?
People can help by go to my blog, and there's a letter there that you can download, cut and paste, and send it to your representative.
Okay. We want to make it easy. Can they go to your Twitter page?
You can go to my Twitter page. I will post my blog site on that later today.
Twitter.com/dutyhonormurder.
And later today
She'll post her blog spot. If you want to help out and help her husband get a Purple Heart, and I'll hold this up, If you want to help out and help her husband get a Purple Heart after being killed in the line of duty in Iraq, you can go to her Twitter page and look for her blog spot there and help out Barbara Allen. Lieutenant Lewis Allen died in the service of this country. This Purple Heart that I'm holding up belongs to the father of our former guest, David Webb. He was kind enough to loan us this just to give us a visual. But of course you wear a lot of purple, so people know what your mission is. Barbara, I wish you Godspeed in all of this. Everybody, thank you for joining. I told you this was a deep and involved story. I appreciate all of your emails. I didn't get to all of them, but I'll read them to her off camera because I want her to know what you're saying. I'll see you back here at 9 a.m. on the East Coast, 6 a.m. on the West, and dark 30 west of there tomorrow morning. But up next, Heather Nauert is back in the house. She's been gone for a bit, but she's back with breaking news. So stay where you are and have a fabulous Tuesday, everybody.